Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Neil, and I'm here with Denise. All
Hey
right,
guys!
I got some breaking news. No one cares, right? Because we hear that all the time now, and you hear this breaking news, and nobody ends up caring. But here we are today. So one of the things I want to talk about today is there was a debate the other night, and it was very interesting. I talked about it in a previous podcast. All right, and I'm gonna lay some foundation for the breaking news so that everybody understands where I'm coming from. Okay.
Okay.
So Town of Wallkill has a very illustrious history. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It goes back a bit of ways. All right. And so if you go back to probably the 90s, the town had some issues with its police force. Right. You know, part of where a lot of people talk about backing our police. It's not that people don't back our police, and I really want people to understand that, right? Because this idea of saying anything negative about one's police force seems to always have the connotation that you're anti-police, and that's just not the case, right? the the fact is that your police force is a paramilitary organization. Yes, they're meant to keep your community safe, right? But they're supposed to have the oversight of your town board, your local town board. That's who provides the oversight of your police force, unless you have a committee designated for that, whatever, blah blah blah. All right, not going to really get into all that, but very part of where that comes from, right? And why everybody has gotten on this we need to back our police came out of scandals related to police. Okay. And this idea that it doesn't matter what they do, we have to defend them. And there are certain things that just are indefensible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you go back a ways with this police force, and this isn't our current police force now. So I'm not saying anything against the current guys in uniform or anything like that. This goes back a ways, right? I mean, we're talking over 20 years ago, right? Our police force,
25 at least.
right? Our police force in town had some real issues. Okay. Not to get into too much detail, but to say that they were sexually harassing women that they pulled over.
Yeah, I remember this.
Right? It was a big, big scandal, right?
Yeah, it was nationwide. It was a nationwide scandal.
Right. They had baseball cards, right? What you would call a baseball card, okay? Printed up. It had their picture on it, and it had their vitals on it, and it had their phone number on it. Okay? And when they pulled over women, they would give them the card, right? They would also offer quid pro quo. In other words, we'll let you out of a ticket if you provide me with sexual favors.
Wow.
They were like I mean, it was bad. There were like all these things, like they used it to try to get dates. They used it for sex. They used it to abuse women. Okay. And it was a pretty bad scandal.
As I remember, it was also a competition amongst them to see who would try to get the most dates or whatever sexual favors done. They were competing.
Yeah, it was really bad. To the point where New York State had to sue the town. There was a lawsuit, right? Because the board at the time refused to sign the consent decree. So there was a finding of guilt. Okay. In this instance, there actually was a finding of guilt. Okay. In other words, that there was wrongdoing. There was concern that the board knew that there was wrongdoing at the time. Okay. And the local board failed to do anything about it. And so when the feds came in and they said, we want you to sign a consent decree. A consent decree means we have a list of things that you need to do and we want those things done. Right? The town board refused to sign the consent decree. So they were sued. Okay, as a result, because and the response from the town board, you hear it this day, right? We don't want transparency. We're going to comply with the consent decree. We just don't want to sign the consent decree.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You hear it, right? You know what's happening. So, interestingly enough, okay, two people who are running, right, for positions today locally were on the town board when this all went down. Okay. So let me play you a little clip.
Yeah.
All right. I have a little clip that I can play you, right, which I found was very, very, very interesting.
The police scandal in Wallkill, and how we were spending $1 million a year on one law firm to handle the police problem. And I said to my wife, I can do this as well as these people that I'm reading about. And so,
what is he saying?
So that was interesting, right? So Ralph Carr, after hearing about the police scandal, okay, decided that he wanted to get involved. Right? Now the question is why? Right? You're spending $1 million on lawyers because your police did wrongdoing.
Right.
Okay? Your board failed to do anything about it and tried to cover it up. Right? Why are you running? Are you running to protect the women in your community? Are you running to create transparency in your police department? Or are you running because, wait a minute, I'm spending $1 million because we got to pay off a bunch of women and I don't like that. So, I mean, like, he's talking about lawyer fees. Yeah, I would assume if that's what your police department is doing, your lawyer fees are going to be pretty high. And not
to
only
defend against that.
Yeah, and not only that, you know what? You should be paying those women. But no, what did they do? They're like, we don't want to sign the consent decree. That's what they said, right? They're like, we're not going to sign the consent decree, and he's running, and he was also on the planning board at this time. So
right,
that's
that's
like,
the major point. He was on the planning board for the town of Wallkill in 2001 when the scandal was finally exposed, and
he's part of the inside crowd, so he knew, right? Now here's the other interesting part, right? So now I'm going to get to the next part, which I think you're going to find interesting. So one of the individuals who was on the town board at the time of the scandal, okay, was a board member, was somebody who's actually now running for town justice.
oh wow.
Okay. And here's what he has to say about his time on the town board.
Let's see. Right. Don't forget to share it.
I'm sharing it.
Here it is.
I'm getting it. There it is.
And as mentioned, I've served as a town councilman. I was proud of my record. I have a clean record in terms of my background. And when you're looking at people who've served.
So, right, like, so now we have that, okay, right, and here's so now, just to give you kind of a, what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
All right. Town board liaison, police liaison says attorney general is involved in a schoolyard spat.
Wow.
All right. All David Furlan wants to do is move forward, and he knows how he wants to do it. So the federal government comes in, says, you're doing wrong, okay? And he's saying, well, I know better than the federal government, right?
Sure you do.
Right? We keep hearing the same nonsense, right? Like, so he's saying, I know better than the federal government what I need to do. You know, it's like, to me, this is what schoolyard nonsense, right? Like, this is kind of the right. And then you have Spitzer Zoos, right? Town officials brought
I remember
action
this.
on by not dealing with the complaints against the police. So they knew they were getting complaints. Furlan was the police liaison. He was getting the complaints, right? So he knew all about what was habiling. Okay. And this is what you had, you know,
They take control of the police.
they ignored the ability, you know, they ignored everything. They ignored what was going on back then. And he was neck deep in all of that.
By the way, I'll get links to these articles so y'all can read them.
Yeah. It's, you know, and what are we seeing today? We're seeing the same thing, right? We had O'Connor Davies came in 2001 and they said, you should do X, Y, and Z. You have a board that said, no, we don't want to do that. We're not going to listen to those experts.
2021, not 2001, 2021.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. 2021. Right. You know, so all the same cast of characters, right, that wanted to be a part of covering up the police scandal, and the other board member who was on the board when this police scandal hit was county legislative candidate and current town board member Eric Valentin. He was also on the town board at that time. So you have two town board members who were part of that
scandal.
What happened in 2001 with our police department. You know, and here they're, you know, now we have a scandal around the finances. And they're all back. They're all back, right? Trying to put themselves in key positions. Okay. Town justice, town supervisor, and county legislator.
So do you really want these same people with these same habits in these same jobs? I mean, one of them, Valentin, has been a councilman for 24 years. So and Frank Dendanto is campaigning on term limits. I would say we need
transparency
as well as transparency. We need term limits. I mean, so these terms are only 2 years. So Valentin has been there for 12 terms. Come on,
unopposed.
People. Unopposed. That's
in
unopposed.
Every election. Right.
And that in itself, in and of itself, is a scandal, because Valentin, I'll just come out and say it, Valentin ran as a Democrat because he was in a Democratic majority within his district, within his ward. But he is actually a conservative. He's running as a conservative for the county legislature, and he has always voted and caucused with the Republicans. Right. And that's the reason why the Republicans didn't put a challenger up against him for 12 terms.
So we talked about the police scandal in 2001. When I joined in 2016, I was immediately put on the police committee, police liaison with Eric Valentin. Okay. One of the first liaison meetings that we had, one of the first and last, I'm gonna tell you, right? We got into a big argument because Eric Valentin had argued with the police chief that he wanted, if you were sitting in your car idling in any one of our parking lots, like supermarket parking lots, right? Could be any supermarket parking lot. If you were idling, waiting for somebody, right? So, you know, like we all do, right? Like,
yeah, we all do that.
My daughter sits in the car and waits for me to run in and grab something, or, you know, I'm waiting for somebody to run in and grab something, right? Like we all
have
do
lunch. That. I mean, eating lunch. I want the AC on, or it's cold. I want the heat on.
Right. So if you're sitting and idling, right, in your car for an extended period of time, he wanted the police to search your vehicle.
Really?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That was the argument. So me and him got into a big fight. No lie. Me and him got into a big fight. All right. Because I said that is absolutely 100% unconstitutional.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy
Violate
shit, I never heard of
everybody's
anything like that.
constitutional rights, and we would get sued, right?
Excuse me.
This is who your police liaison is, right? Like, this is what he's advocating for. He wants illegal searches, he wants illegal seizures, right? Like, so this idea that right, like, this police, like, he's not there to look after people, right? He's there because he just wants to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about people's rights. And so you could see like how like your goal, if you're hiring a local board, right? You could support your police, but you want somebody on that board who's going to be looking after this shit.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, right? Like sometimes bad shit happens.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
It happened like so just before I believe Frank got into office, or maybe when he got into office, there was an officer who threw a kid down to the ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
No,
was
I don't
all
think I
over
heard
the
this.
news. Yeah, it was all over the news. He threw a kid down onto the ground. There was video of it.
Oh,
Okay, it was like all over Facebook. And
I probably saw it and I forgot.
In other municipalities that could have just been buried and nobody ever would do anything about it. In fact, I believe it was the video that spurred the guy getting dismissed, right? Like it was the
Okay.
public video, right? So that video had been around for 9 months and there was a complaint about it that nobody did anything about it, and then blah, blah, blah. So it's just sort of like you have to make sure that the people that you're putting in place are looking after the interests of the public.
Exactly.
Irrespective of the individual, right? Like
Exactly.
irrespective of the individual, right? Like I get they're pretty, there are bad people on our streets. Like I totally admit that there are bad people on our streets that want to do bad things. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we don't, provide people with respect,
Exactly.
and if for some reason that person is disrespecting you, listen, you still gotta, you gotta assess the threat level. You gotta have people that are gonna have good instincts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you gotta hire well, and that's a really big deal. And
And that's something to think about as we're approaching November 4th. Is it November 4th for Election Day? My God, the days are flying together really fast. And so you need to think about that, because when you place your vote, you are choosing to hire that candidate for that position. And so you want to make sure that you're voting or not just electing, but hiring the person that you feel most confident that you can trust, and that has your best interest at heart. And people who have a history of kind of taking care of their own interests, they're not the right person for the job. Just my opinion.
Well, what I found is interesting was that during the debate, right, one of the things that that was said by Mr. Furlan that I disagree with how the person he's referring to, right? But integrity is important.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And it was very interesting. So let me just share this clip here.
You can't beat me on that, guys. Integrity is one of the things I value. My family's been here 100 years. You may know my parents. My mom taught kindergarten. My dad taught at Milltown High School.
Right. So he even mentioned integrity. Right. And we had, it's like, who are you? If we can't trust you to be transparent after a scandal like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. then how can we trust you to be a judge in our
Well,
community?
and that's the other thing. Maybe what we'll do, we'll also examine. I imagine Maria Patrizia answered some questions. We can do a segment with her.
No, there actually were no questions for the judges, none whatsoever.
He just stepped up and volunteered that.
No, they both gave introductory speeches. Maria gave an introductory speech. Dave gave and Dave had that in his introductory speech.
Well, it's about integrity.
He was talking. Right, he was talking about integrity. He was trying to claim that Maria doesn't have integrity while he has integrity. And anytime people start claiming other people don't have integrity, right? I start asking the question, why are you making that statement? Like, nobody's attacked your integrity.
Yeah, why are you so defensive? But that's it.
I've kind of said that he was shady, right? Like, I mean, I kind of made a comment, I think, recently about, real estate practices. Like, I mean, he talked about the idea that he's a landlord, right? He has tenants. So, he talked about code enforcement.
As a landlord doesn't make you qualified to be a judge. The one thing I'm going to just say this is just with my background. I have a whole lot more legal background than David Furlan has. Okay. I'm a paralegal. I went to school for it. I worked for 26 years. I prepared for trial. I've filed documents. I've served documents. I've done discovery. I am not qualified to be a judge. I don't think so. I don't think I have.
No, you're qualified to be a judge.
Maybe for the town, but
because all you need to be is a citizen of the town, a resident of the town, and 18 years or older. So you're good.
That's terrible. That's terrible. We have actual cases that come through this court, actual cases that need real adjudication, and Maria Patrizia is an actual lawyer. She's an actual lawyer. She has an actual background. She knows how to organize a docket. She knows how to interpret the law, and that's what you have to do.
She went to 4 years of law school
on top of getting a bachelor's degree.
How many years of school did you have to go to be a paralegal?
I went through, at the time that I went to paralegal school, it was a 1-year course that I took. Back in like 91. Now it's a 4-year degree. It's been a 4-year degree for about 25 years. So it's just a couple of years after I got my certificate through a trade school, the National Paralegal Studies. It was, it was just a trade school that taught it back then. And
how much training? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
no, go ahead.
How much training do you think one of these justices gets from the state to be a judge in a court? If they're not a lawyer.
If they're not a lawyer, they should get.
No, anybody.
Just for anybody, you should have to take it. Oh my God, I don't know. For me, I would think if you need 4 years of college on top of a bachelor's degree. 3 to 4, actually, I believe it's 3 years, and then an extra year for a specialty if you're specializing in a particular practice area. So let's say 7 years of college, 8 years tops. To be an attorney, to argue a case, why can you become a judge without any of that? Or take we got a little handbook and some videos for you to watch.
How much training do you think that the state gives?
It should be at least 8 years. That's me. That's just me.
No. For one of these justice positions, how much training do you think they get?
What, a month, a year, a couple of years, a week, 2 hours,
1 week?
That's terrible. You can't.
So he's making the argument that his qualifications are that he's a resident of the town. He's 18 years of older, and he signed up for a 1-week training course on how to be a judge from New York State. And we should trust him with our tickets, our code enforcement, because he knows right from wrong.
Right, and he tried to cover up for police officers who were sexually harassing women and possibly using quid pro quo to get laid. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, but the actual lawyer, and I believe she's worked with the Legal Aid Society. She's represented family law. She's represented children in with real problems, and she's got a lot of she's got a lot of great qualities. Plus, she's got what 34 years, 35 years of experience. So
Yale law grad. She's a
yeah,
Yale law grad.
she's a
Right.
Yale. She's Yale. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. But you know what? He's Mensa, and he's 18 years or older, and he's a resident of the town, and he knows right from wrong. So
So how's he going to organize his docket? How's he going to determine if people?
let's trust in him. $500,000 in revenue, right? And oh, the other thing I wanted to bring up is he brought up the idea that he wanted to do night court.
Oh,
Okay.
so he wants to make his own hours. Okay.
Right. So he wants to do night court. Okay. Now, all I've heard this entire summer, right, and you can agree with me on this because you heard it too, right, was that the court costs too much money and they're trying to cut costs, right? That was what we were told.
Yep.
Okay. That was what we were told by the town board because they wanted to eliminate the position
entirely.
He is talking about bringing back night court, which means talking about adding to the cost of the court, because now you're talking about overtime for your staff. Not only your clerks, but your police department, your police officer, like everybody. Now you're actually talking about overtime, and you're talking about adding to your cost. So you have a party, right? The Republican Party, which is saying our courts cost too much money. We don't want this position. Okay. We need to reduce costs. And you have him running on, hey, I'm going to add to your costs.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm going to add to your costs, right? And screw the town, right? Like, I don't care, right? And
oh my God.
And they're all running with him on that.
My God.
Right? Keep that in mind that they're promoting this and they're running with him. So my question to all of them would be, is it a cost problem, or was there another reason why you tried to eliminate this position?
Absolutely. I want to point this out too.
Getting back to that again.
Yeah, we got to get back to that again. If you go all the way back to when we started this podcast, we started this because it's because of Maria. It was because of Maria. She when the judge that is retiring, announced his retirement and the space was going to open up. I think they'd already lined up someone to take that spot. Maria applied. She got on the ballot for the Democrats, and then boom, they decided, oh, we got to get rid of this position. We can't afford to have it. There's no reason to have it. So she got everybody's attention and said, no, that has to be up to the residents to decide. And a quick referendum vote was hastily thrown together. And I didn't even know anything about it until I saw one of Maria's signs on the street that said, vote yes. What am I voting yes for? And that's when I called you and we talked about it and said, you know what? We need to get the word out about this.
Yes.
Because, I didn't know how busy Town of Wallkill is as far as its court system. That third judge position was created, I think, 13 years ago because it was needed, because the system was overwhelmed. And so currently until which judge is it that's leaving?
Joe Owens left.
Joe Owens. Okay. So I think he's still kind of there on a part-time basis until the end of this year.
Done.
Oh, he is done. Okay.
He's done.
But they're all lawyers. All three are lawyers. and have been and are established in our community. And now one is leaving, an actual lawyer gets herself on the docket, on the ballot, and now they want to get rid of the position. So thankfully, thanks to hopefully maybe our podcast played a little role, we helped to save that position, and now she's running. And now they have the Republicans have a candidate who is not a lawyer. He's a real estate agent. Doesn't mean he's, not a good guy or anything. But frankly, I think for the level of cases that we have and the complexity of the cases, they're not all traffic tickets. There are more complex things. For example, the fellow that was arrested for embezzling, for stealing $400,000 from the town, he got arraigned in our court, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's going to be tried in Orange County.
Oh, he's going to be tried because of the size of the case. He's going to end up in Orange County Supreme. It's a $400,000 case, but he did get arraigned. Again, you need people who understand the law, people who can research cases, people who can do that kind of stuff. And he doesn't have that, I mean, I've done it, but even I don't have the skills that someone like Maria Patrizia has, because she's been doing it for years.
I think there are a couple of aspects to look at this, right? So, there is, the law basically is clear. You do not need to be a lawyer to be a local town justice.
I think that needs to change.
The issue comes down to there are a lot of local rural communities that may not have a lawyer, right? Somebody who went to law school who reside in their municipality, right? Or if you do, maybe that person is a defense attorney, right? Like, I mean, there are some really small communities out there. I mean, the reason why they made it so that you're not a lawyer was because many communities didn't even have people who graduated law school. I mean, like, this law's been on the books forever, and people still don't there still may be communities where there may not be attorneys who want to run or whatever. I mean, they're small. I think what it really comes down to is you can't look at something like that. You have to look at our community, and our community is a really large community.
Absolutely.
We have a very busy court. Okay. It's a very busy court. Each judge is pulling in about $500,000 to the state in revenue. And I know that you can't look at revenue, but you've grown your police force 30% and you've decreased your court. I mean, naturally you're going to have more criminal offenses going through your court, you're going to have more to process in your courts if you're adding police officers.
Absolutely.
And your municipality is growing. Our municipality has grown almost 10% a year, right, for the last, I think 15 years.
Yeah.
This isn't a small community anymore. We're actually larger than the city that we surround.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
City of Middletown is now smaller than we are, and it used to never be that way. So, I think that has to be part of the conversation. It can't just be, well, I know my local community. Your local community isn't, 5,000 people.
No, it's 35,000.
It's 35,000 people and 64 square miles. Not being a lawyer would be a real detriment and disservice to the people in our community. I mean, he was talking about landlord-tenant disputes and saying, well, we want to do X, Y, and Z. We want our community to look like this. So, this is the way I'm going to rule. And that's not the way the law works.
No, you have to be impartial. You have to be impartial.
Right. You can't use your own bias, right, to make decisions, right? It's not about right and wrong. It's about the law. Okay.
Absolutely.
How many times have we all said, well, that's just not right because the law doesn't sound right? I mean, these laws have been carefully crafted. right? Over hundreds of years, okay? And I'm sure that whatever that exception to that rule was that person got off on, that technicality, there was a reason for that,
Yeah.
okay? And that was because some innocent person got convicted as a result of whatever it was that wasn't done or was done.
Yeah.
Okay? So procedure, legal procedure, knowing the law, it becomes really, really important in these instances.
So, yep. Well, we got some decisions to make on November 4th. You have David Furlan, a real estate agent, former town councilman, and we have Maria Patrizia, 34-year experienced attorney, graduate of Yale Law School. Both of them are running for the town judge position, which is currently held by someone with a legal background, a lawyer.
And I think what we showed at the beginning, where this all started about the police scandal, is we have issues with transparency and the accounting and it really comes down to, irrespective of whatever you believe, it's either you want transparency and you want open government, or you want, cover-ups and you want to continue the nonsense. And that's what it really comes down to. You look at that county legislative race, you look at Eric Valentin, he spent 24 years covering stuff up. He covered up the police, scandal, he wouldn't vote, right? And now he's covering up the finances, right? So who is he facing? He's facing DeShonda Carter, who's a new face, right, in our town, right? Like, she's new and into politics, and she's taken everybody by storm. She's really bright. She's got a good background, I've certainly supported her. I still support her. I think she's fantastic. And so, my feeling is 24 years of cover-ups, I don't want that at my county level.
Of the status quo.
Right, in the status quo, right. And then you have Ralph, and Ralph, in his own words, you heard him. He wasn't running to protect the women. He wasn't running to fix our police department. He was running because we're paying too much money, so we need to figure out a way to quiet this down so that we're not spending so much money, right? That is that really what you want at this point in time?
No.
So I think we kind of proved our point.
Yes. So make your vote count on May. Wow. I'm thinking of spring. November. I'm all ready for spring. And the winter's coming, man. I'm not ready for it. So November 4th, get out there. Vote. All right? And we will see you soon. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We love you. All right. See you soon. Leave us a comment. Bye.